Grease doesn't disappear. It spreads. Across cabinets. Across walls. Across vents. Across surfaces you touch every single day without realizing it. And the worst part? Most kitchens don't actually look dirty. Not at first. Because grease builds slowly, layer by layer. A thin, invisible film that thickens over time. Until one day, everything feels sticky. Cabinets, handles, stove buttons. Even the air feels heavier. And that's when most people make the same mistake. They buy stronger chemicals, heavy degreasers, industrial sprays, harsh cleaners with warning labels, because they assume grease needs to be destroyed, burned away, dissolved aggressively. But restaurants learned something different years ago. Grease doesn't respond best to force. It responds to separation. That's the key. Because grease doesn't bond to surfaces permanently. It clings. And once that grip weakens, everything changes. Now here's where this gets interesting. Professional kitchens deal with more grease in 1 week than most homes see in months. Constant cooking, hot oil, steam, smoke particles, and yet many restaurant kitchens clean faster than normal homes. Not because they scrub harder, because they use a completely different approach, one that costs almost nothing. And chances are, you already have everything needed sitting in your kitchen right now. Hot water, baking soda, and dish soap. That's it. Now that sounds too simple, especially today, because modern marketing trained people to believe effective cleaning must look extreme. Bright chemicals, strong smells, industrial labels. But older kitchen workers understood something important. Grease changes behavior under heat. That matters. Cold grease hardens, becomes stubborn, sticky, difficult to remove, but heat softens it, weakens its grip, makes it movable again. That's why this trick works so differently. It doesn't attack grease aggressively. It changes its state first. Now imagine trying to remove cold butter from a pan. Difficult, sticky, smears everywhere, but warm that same butter slightly, and suddenly it slides. That's grease. And once you understand that, kitchen cleaning becomes much easier. Now here's the part most people never realize. Many degreasers actually leave residue behind, a thin chemical layer, which attracts new grease faster. That's why surfaces often become sticky again quickly, especially around stoves, range hoods, microwaves, cabinet edges. But restaurant kitchens can't afford buildup cycles because grease becomes dangerous, not just dirty, dangerous. Heat plus grease buildup creates fire risk. That's why commercial kitchens focused on removal efficiency long before modern household sprays existed. And this simple method survived for decades because it worked consistently, not perfectly, but reliably. Now here's how it actually works. First comes heat, very warm water, not lukewarm, not cold, warm enough to soften grease instantly. Then comes dish soap, because soap molecules are strange. One side grabs oil, the other grabs water, meaning soap doesn't destroy grease, it lifts it, separates it from surfaces. That's the important part. Now add baking soda, and something interesting happens. The fine particles create gentle friction, not enough to scratch surfaces, but enough to break stubborn layers loose, especially older buildup. That combination matters. Heat, lift, separation, movement, not harsh chemicals. Now suddenly, the old restaurant trick starts making sense, because it works with grease behavior, instead of fighting against it blindly. Now think about how most people clean kitchens. Spray chemicals, wait, scrub aggressively, spread grease around, repeat again next week. That cycle never really ends. Because the grease was never fully lifted away, only loosened partially. Now compare that to restaurant systems. They clean while grease is still soft, still movable, still weak. That's why timing matters too. The best time to clean greasy surfaces is shortly after cooking, while warmth still exists. Old kitchen workers knew this instinctively. Modern households forgot it. Now here's where the conspiracy angle quietly appears. If simple combinations remove grease effectively, what happens to expensive specialty cleaners? What happens to industrial degreasers, kitchen sprays, heavy chemical systems, monthly cleaning products? That's the uncomfortable part. Simple methods don't generate recurring profit very well, especially methods people can make themselves. Now, obviously, some commercial cleaners absolutely work, especially for extreme buildup. But most everyday kitchen grease doesn't need industrial chemistry. It needs proper separation. That's completely different. Now imagine wiping a greasy cabinet once, and the cloth actually removes the residue completely, not smearing it, not spreading it, actually lifting it away. That's what this method changes. Now here's something most people overlook. Kitchen grease doesn't stay near the stove. It travels through air. Tiny oil particles rise during cooking, then settle slowly across the room. That's why top cabinets feel sticky, why kitchen walls darken over time, why light fixtures collect grime. Airborne grease spreads everywhere. especially in kitchens with weak ventilation. Now, restaurants understood this years ago. That's why airflow mattered so much. Exhaust systems, fans, heat removal, because controlling airborne grease reduces buildup before cleaning even starts. Again, environment control, not just reaction. That pattern keeps appearing. Now back to the actual trick. Mix. Very warm water, a few drops of dish soap, and baking soda into a soft paste. Not too thick, not too watery. Then apply gently using a cloth or sponge. No aggressive scrubbing needed. Let the heat and soap do most of the work. That's important. People damage surfaces because they think force equals effectiveness. Usually it doesn't, especially with grease. Now wipe slowly. And you'll notice something immediately. The surface changes texture. Sticky becomes smooth. Cloudy becomes clean. And older grease layers begin releasing all at once, especially around handles and corners. Now here's another reason restaurants still use variations of this method: speed. Commercial kitchens don't have time for complicated cleaning routines. Methods must work quickly, repeatedly, safely, without damaging surfaces. That's exactly why this survived. Now there's another hidden advantage. Harsh degreasers often dry out materials over time: paint, wood finishes, rubber seals, plastic coatings. Repeated chemical exposure slowly damages them, but gentler methods preserve surfaces longer. Again, older systems focused on maintenance, not replacement. That mindset changed over time. Now people replace things faster than ever. Cabinets, appliances, finishes. But many older kitchens lasted decades because they were cleaned differently, less aggressively, more intelligently. Now imagine walking into your kitchen and everything feels clean again, not chemically clean, actually clean. Smooth surfaces, no sticky residue, no greasy smell hanging in the air, just normal. That's the difference proper grease removal creates. Now here's something fascinating. Once people try this method, they often stop buying expensive degreasers entirely, not because those products never worked, but because they realize something simpler works too. And simple feels powerful, especially today. Now think about how strange modern cleaning became. People spray stronger and stronger chemicals to solve problems often caused by improper technique in the first place. That's backwards. Restaurants learned through repetition, thousands of cleanings, constant testing, real-world efficiency. And over time, the simplest systems survived, not because they sounded impressive, because they consistently worked. Now, obviously, this isn't magic. A neglected kitchen with years of heavy grease buildup will still require effort, but everyday grease maintenance? That's where this trick shines, because maintenance prevents buildup cycles before they become severe. That's the real secret, not deep cleaning, preventing accumulation. Now here's the part nobody talks about. Many old household methods disappeared, not because they failed. Because convenience marketing replaced them, people stopped learning systems and started depending on products instead. That shift changed everything. Now every problem feels like it needs a purchase solution, but sometimes the best methods are already sitting inside the house, quietly ignored. Now next time kitchen grease starts building around the stove, before reaching for another harsh chemical spray, try the old restaurant method: hot water, dish soap, baking soda. Simple, cheap, and surprisingly effective. Because grease was never the real problem. The real problem was how people were taught to fight it.